Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Tea with Taylor. Not just any episode, very special episode because I just wanted to start off with Black History presentation. In honor of Black History Month, I'm going to sing the National Black Anthem. Y'all bear with me while we wait for my guest today. We're going to be talking about activism and explaining that while we wait for my guest to join in. Thank you for joining and thank you for watching. Thank you for keeping up. I really appreciate it. And here we go. Brace yourselves. Now make sure to watch the problems. I promise. Don't worry. Let there be voices sing to earth and heaven. Bring with the harmony of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high in the listening sky. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song of faith that the darkness is taught us. Sing a song of the hope that the present is part of. Sing the rising sun of a new day begun. Let us march on to victory. So be the road we trust, bitter the chasing rock, built in the day that goes unborn like night. Get with the steady beat, have not our weary feet. Come to the place on which our fathers sang. All right. That's it for today. But we're waiting for our guest to join in. I hope you enjoyed that little tidbit, y'all. And let me just check in with y'all on the comments. I'm going to pull us up on Facebook, the Book of Chase. Sean and Daniel, I'm not sure. Oh, I see you're watching. Okay, all right. What they looking like? They joining us? Send me that request. I have somebody behind the scenes, my good friend behind the scenes helping me out today. So send me that request, Sean or Daniel, and she'll accept that. Because we got a lot to get into. We got some hot topics to talk about. I'm not sure if Daniel, you got that invite just yet, but I am watching and waiting. Thank you all for tuning in. I see a few people watching already. But we got a lot of hot topics to talk about. Before I get into my hot topics, I want to shout out my Aquarius, the loves of my lives. My mother, whose birthday was yesterday. I wanted to say happy birthday to her. Eugenia Austin, my mother, my dear mother, you know, where I came from. I want to say happy birthday. And to Anthony Lopez, makeup guru, one of a kind. Very special person to me. Happy birthday, whose birthday is today. So shout out to y'all. Happy birthday. Live it up. I'm not sure how we're looking just yet with the guests, but we got a lot of hot topics to cover. So send me that request and we are gonna get going. It's looking promising. Okay. All right. Okay. The first of our few hot topics we're gonna hit hard a little bit, and then we're gonna get into the fun stuff. because I feel like it's like a good mix to have the hard and the light when we're talking about these things that we talk about that we must talk about. But I guess let me see how we looking. Oh, hold on. Okay, let me see. Hold on, y'all. Mm. Okay, I think I figured it out. We figured it out. Forgive me. My friend is new to this whole behind the scenes thing. Thank you, Emery. My besties behind the scenes helping out today. Daniel, I see your comment. You requested to join. You should be joining in shortly. Just waiting on that to happen.
Hey.
Hey.
Oh, hello. Hey, how you doing, guys?
Made it.
You made
Oh,
it. Yes. Thank you for joining me today. How are you?
good.
We're
Good.
good.
Sorry, we were on Facebook on the computer, but we're not able to join. But here we are.
Yeah. You know what? I'm glad that you're here in virtual, in real life, whatever. It's a party, you know.
Yeah.
Cheers to you and to all of you guys. I am on a 10-day cleanse, so unfortunately I'm not drinking right now. But cheers to you. I hope you got your drink ready.
We love a cleanse. I actually have some tea, kind of that was some tension tamer.
Okay, all right. I'm spilling tea. You're drinking tea. Okay, I get it. Cute. That's a cute mug.
Tea for the tea.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, so I live. Okay, all right. So let's get into it. We got some hot topics. We got some hot topics to cover, but first I want to give you a second to introduce yourselves. Tell everyone and all the viewers who you are, what you do, and your pronouns.
All right.
Yeah, sounds great. So I'm gonna start. My name is Daniel Cano. I use he, his pronouns. I'm originally from Medellin, Colombia, and I moved to the States for about almost like 5 years now. And since then, I've been doing this work with Newport Out and Newport Pride. My background is on product design, so I love design, I love arts, and that's a little bit about me.
Okay.
I want to tell you more, but I'll let Sean introduce himself.
Yeah. I go by Shano. My full name is Sean O'Connor. I use he, him pronouns as well. I am married to this fine fellow here.
Ow!
Right? He is fine in more ways than one. And yeah, we both live in Newport, Rhode Island. We started Newport Out 5 years ago. And we also are founders of Newport Pride, which is a 501c3 organization here in Newport. And I'll leave it there for the moment, but we're really glad to be here with you.
Yes, I'm so glad to have you both. I can't believe I got the package deal. Like, lucky me. Like, whatever, no big deal. But I'm glad to have you, and thank you so much again for joining. I was just telling the viewers a little earlier, we're going to hit some of the hot topics first, and then we're going to get into some of the lighter stuff, because we got to mix it up,
Yep.
Sounds good.
So first, we're coming in real hard, real heavy. They let Trump back on social media, y'all. Yep.
Yeah. We saw some.
They let the Orange Menace back on social media. I'm furious.
Yeah.
And he's already created commotion, and it's really annoying. I'm like, as soon as we let this man back on with a blue check, back on Twitter, back on Facebook, he's already causing commotion. I'm like, I can't.
Yeah.
I can't. I just can't. I thought we were done with him.
He's causing damage. It's commotion and it's damage.
Emotional damage. No, for real. I'm like, how are we still tolerating this? I don't understand. But like, how do you guys feel about it? How do you feel about social media? Actually, that's a loaded question.
Yeah, actually, social media is one of those components that we'll be talking, I guess, along the night. It's a platform that we use every day for our personal lives, but also for our business. It can be as powerful as it can be as destructive.
It definitely can.
So with political people who are against our community, it can be very damaging in a way that it can create fake news. People believe their first thing they see and they don't research beyond to what they see. So that can also be damaging.
Yep. And not to cut you off, but you said it's funny you say that because the very first thing he did, I think, or among the first things he did was he presented the fact that if he wins the next election because he's running for president.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So
if he wins the next election, he's going to propose an anti-trans bill.
I know. That's his first sort of action, his first message back.
I'm like, are you kidding? Are you like? Anyways, my blood boils a little bit, but we're gonna move on because I have a lot to say about that man. About the former media influencer.
Yeah, we'll be crazy. Yeah. And then,
so
I just wanted to say that even that kind of lies just making up information so people do believe that it's a reality, and so it can happen. It can happen if we don't pay attention to those things. So
but like you said, people don't research. They don't do their individual research. They're like, oh, I saw this here, so it must be true, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. That's only true on Tea with Taylor, y'all. But unfortunately, the next one that I tried really hard to not talk about this. It's been really actually playing a huge role in everyday life. Unfortunately, maybe not so much here, but in the other side of the world. And what I'm talking about is this whole Russia versus Ukraine situation, which has been every day. I feel like something is happening to update this situation to bring it to not to create like any kind of panic amongst the peeps, the viewers, but I feel like every day I hear something about this, it's reaching a higher ante and just like becoming something bigger. Like,
I hear you.
Did you hear about what the tanks they were requesting tanks from the U.S. and
in Germany,
and then Russia said they warned that they said if they lose by conventional means to Ukraine that they're going to be looking at nuclear war.
It feels like it just continues to escalate. I know what you mean. Like the New York Times headline, whatever it is, and feels closer and closer to like the preamble to like a world war. And it's confusing and scary.
It is very confusing and it's very scary. And I feel like the media, one of the tactics that they love to use is fear mongering. So which is why I kind of want to brace the viewers before I talk about it. But it's been like so like penetrating lately, and I'm just like, oh my God. When I heard the thing about nuclear, I was like, okay, all right, brace yourselves, here we go.
Yeah, no, definitely. And then I think that as scary as it can be, like thinking of another war, just going back to that idea of talking about social media and information, and I know how they can also manipulate information to make people believe certain things. So there's also that, like how much of that is true, all what we are receiving from right on there.
It creates like a distrust within the media. I think that is kind of like a something that we all share in common ever since COVID, especially, that it creates a huge disconnect between what is true and what we're being fed. But that's a whole nother episode that we could get into. So I'm gonna leave it there, but I agree 100%. I think it's just, finding that line between what actually is the truth and what we're being told. Unfortunately, that's kind of how our society has set us up.
Yeah.
And just as dire as that, the next hot topic, y'all, is this whole Netflix situation.
The memes.
The memes have had me in stitches.
Yes.
No, but they actually just this morning. Okay, so for y'all who don't know what we're talking about, Netflix is saying that they were saying for a while, or it was leaked that they would begin charging for password sharing by the end of March. I saw this morning, and correct me if I'm wrong. If you guys want to let me know in the comments, I saw this morning that Netflix actually said that was a leak and that it's untrue.
Oh, really? I hadn't seen that. That's
Did you hadn't seen that?
Is that true, or are they backtracking?
Exactly. I think they're backtracking.
Yeah.
I think the company realized that they were going to lose out, and now they're backtracking. Like, I want you guys to do your research. We just talked about this. You don't take my word for it. But I saw this morning that they were like, oh, that was an accidental leak.
Yeah. Interesting.
Right.
Because
I know
with the information. What's true?
You heard it here, y'all. You heard it on the T first. But I know I have 5 people on my Netflix. So
right. I mean, how many apps do we need to have today to watch everything?
Honestly, it's becoming cable a la carte. It's cable a la carte.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. I'm like, oh, we don't need cable TV, and then they have HBO, then you have Netflix, you have Hulu, you have so many. I'm like, you know what's gonna happen? And I predicted this before. Every network that was on cable is gonna have their own thing, and we're gonna end up having multiple apps just to watch them. And there's going to be only original programming on the other apps, like Netflix. You notice the influx of original series that Netflix is presenting?
Oh, like, yes, so much. So much.
And I think they're moving in a direction where Netflix and Hulu and those things are only going to have their originals on their platforms, which means we're going to have to get more platforms because they're going to pull their things from these. And I'm not here for it.
And
I'm not here for it.
It's just like a funny story. We were in Colombia, in Medellin recently, and so we started watching the new season of RuPaul's Drag Race there. And so we had to research, like, wait, how can we watch this? Like, what app do we need to watch this in Colombia?
It changes every season.
We figured it out, and it was wow in Colombia. And now we're back here, like tonight, we're like, wait a minute, how do we watch it here in this country?
It literally changes every season. Shout out to the stable in the Alley Cat. They have viewing parties every time. But I don't want to have to go out to watch. I want to watch it from the comfort of my own home. But if you can't, that's an option for y'all out here who are local. Just FYI.
Good call.
Because it's changing every season. I don't know what RuPaul's master plan is there, but every season it changes.
Yeah.
Moving forward, since we are talking about locals or whatever, I love my transitions. Tom Brady, have you heard?
He's officially retiring.
It's the resignment heard worldwide. I was like, let this man go. We have such a grass argument.
It's like, just chill, just relax.
Like he really was like teary-eyed, and like he went on like I think it was Instagram to announce it, and was like super really, and like I'm like, not for nothing, he already told us that he was retiring, and then he went back, and I think he went back for Giselle. I'm not gonna lie, I think he was like, Giselle, look at me, I'm still doing football. I can still do this. But now he's like, actually, just kidding.
Right.
Just kidding. I think I'm gonna go. I don't know. He was like, time to hit the old Dusty Trail.
Please, yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, just relax.
How do you feel? Do you guys think he should still play, or what do you think?
I mean, first, I think I don't get into I don't want to offend your viewers. I don't get into the mania of it, of football and of Tom Brady, the persona. So I'm like, yeah, I think you've been in the game a long time. Like, absolutely. Why don't you just chill and retire now? That sounds great. So I don't have like a deep emotional connection to it, but I'm like, kind of makes sense. Like,
it's funny. It's just funny to me how like New England has such a hold on this man's career. Yeah. I'm like, y'all are really trying to hold on to him until he can no longer walk. Like, let the man rest. Yeah. Like, right. And there's such controversy around it. I don't get it. I'm like, let him live.
Either. I don't get it. But I see it. I see all the mania.
Yeah. I think it was all front for Giselle.
Which that adds up.
Yeah. He was like, hey, look at me, yeah, I'm still in shape. Right? I still got it. And she was like, okay, bye. And now he's like, all right, I'm good. So I thank you. You're welcome for that narration. I was actually there when it happened.
Yeah, it seems like it. That you got really
allegedly, yeah. Lastly, I want to end on a really good note with our hot topics. And this one stood out to me. Actually, it's a double story. Oh, ooh, ah. It's two really good things that stood out to me about social media. A derivative of social media. And it's this company called Yellow Banana, which is a Black-owned company. So, you know, big ups to the Black-owned companies. We love that. Which has a line of grocery stores. They have 38 chains, and they just secured $13.5 million to expand this brand. And what this brand is doing is they're taking over all of the closed down Save-A-Lots. So if you've ever been to a Save-A-Lot, you know kind of, you know, what that means. But I was floored by this news. Like, I was so excited. Have you heard about this?
No.
We haven't heard about it.
Called Yellow Banana.
But it sounds
sounds amazing.
Yeah.
I was like, yes. I love to see, I love to see everyone win, but especially Black and brown businesses. Yeah. And the owner, the co-owner actually his name is Michael Nance. So if you guys want to look that up, if you want to support, if you want to, you know, read a little bit more about Yellow Banana, I think it's amazing what they're doing, taking over these Save-A-Lots, and it gives us an opportunity to kind of present, you know, what we would do as owners in the community or as Black and brown folks. And we can do something fresh and new with that too, and present organic foods and, you know, different cultural foods. And like, we don't have to abide by what a grocery store is in this era. And so I think this is a really big opportunity for this company, Yellow Banana, to stand out. And I'm
I really like the fact that maybe it's owned by a person of color, and we should celebrate that. But also just to the food and to the diversity of food, like just coming from another country, I just feel like I just have a hard time to find like rich and like diverse kind of food here. I know there is so much diversity and multicultural in this country, but there is still like, I don't know, I just don't get to find like these like fruits and treats that you get to see in other countries.
Yeah.
So I hope that will also just uplift that from our cultures as well, like their food and things like that.
There's so many that we don't know about. Every time I see something online that is from another culture, I'm like, what is that? And it's always like, I'm like, I want to have my little eat, pray, love moment so I can kind of get into all that is food-wise. As you know, I'm big about my fitness journey right now, so I don't know how that's going to fit in, but I really want to have that moment in life where I am able to explore like kind of foods around the world. And it's important, and like you said, it's very hard to find, and when you do find it, it's very specialized. And if y'all know anything about specialized, that means expensive.
Yeah.
So I don't understand the idea behind food in America where they price the good food expensively and the trash food super cheap. But I mean, it's kind of like setting us up for failure. But whatever. That's just my take on that. And lastly, Mr. Beast. Did you hear about this one? The YouTube creator, Mr. Beast.
No, what's the headline on this?
Child, let me tell you, and let me tell you viewers, Mr. Beast, he's a YouTube creator, and he actually funded, my best friend's in the back shaking her head, she must have heard about this one. He funded 1,000 surgeries that helped blind people see. So 1,000 people who were either blind by birth or lost their sight over time can now see thanks to this YouTuber, Mr. Beast. He funded the operations and he donated to the cure that was used in these operations for these blind folk. And I was floored by this news, and he's planning on bringing this campaign of his, or his, funding even more, bringing it to Jamaica, Indonesia, Honduras, Brazil, Vietnam, and Kenya. What do you think about that?
Wow. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And
he had a burger place, prior to this. Like, you as taken aback as I am? I was like,
Yeah, that's wild. So that's Mr. Beast's thing, right? It's like stunts, but like stunts that typically have like stunts for good. Is that
Yeah,
right? Is that
he
what?
said that.
Yeah.
So his purpose, he says that his purpose is to give back, and he really wants to do something that helps. And when I tell you this, that's like phenomenal that 1,000 people can see now.
Yeah.
Like it's like the little things that we kind of like take for granted, like just seeing. That's something like I was like, wow. Like that's not something that's not he's not it's not a trend, it's not a cause that people dedicate their lives to, but it was just something I just thought like phenomenal. Like
Yeah.
stand out. I was like, wow. Like
Yeah.
there's people like that that will make a difference and that do make a difference.
And I think it's interesting. I don't know a ton about Mr. Beast and content. I've heard a little bit and seen little videos, but that idea of like a different way of doing like philanthropy, right? Like I'm going to create this successful content. I'm going to get money for it, and I'm going to reinvest that content in doing more good things. That seems pretty special.
Yeah. Yeah. And I hate that this generation has cornered that market on making money on YouTube and whatnot. I'm gonna get there, don't worry.
You are.
But like I was like, oh, not me stressing and working 48 hours a week and someone can sit on TikTok and make exactly what I made in 5 minutes. So whatever, no big deal. But we're gonna stay positive.
Yes.
So I just want to shout out Mr. Beast and say, thank you for what you're doing. And when he brings that to all those other places that I mentioned, it's just only going to become even greater.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, no,
what was that?
that's amazing. And just to provide something for people with some kind of disability, even better.
Yeah.
So,
I was like, this is going to put him on the map. Like, what are you going to do next? Like, what? But I wanted to get into our topic now. You guys ready?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So we're gonna break it down. We're talking about activism today. If you guys are just joining, I have Daniel and I have Sean O with me from Newport Out to talk about activism, and we're going to break it down. I also have 4 effective roles of activists that I think I can give you some tips to become an effective activist. So stick with me and we'll get through those together. I do have a few questions that I would like to ask you guys as well for the viewers' pleasure. You guys, if you have any questions, feel free to let us know in the comments. I don't know if you guys are watching, but I always like to watch the comments and see, what the folks are talking about. But you guys, if you want to have some questions for them, let me know. If you want to tune in and chime in on the conversation, also let me know. My question to you all, and I'll start this way with you as well, gentlemen, is do you think that, and feel free to dive as deep as you like or as shallow as you want, because I know sometimes we feel that we have to answer certain things on these kinds of platforms,
right.
But here I just want to make sure that everyone's comfortable, and just know that if you don't feel that you want to dive deep into something, you do not have to. Okay?
Thank you.
Of course.
Sounds perfect.
But do you think, because this is something that I've been actually asked, do you think that society right now is sort of like hyper vigilant or super on high alert, so to speak, as a society? And that's to you viewers as well.
Well, I think I could say yes. Maybe the perception of things have changed. Maybe before it wasn't allowed to openly speak about homosexuality, and maybe now we do. So by default, you're gonna get the same backlash in the amount of advance we've gained. We get it back because might be people who are not able to speak about those topics just yet, and it's hard for them to talk about those things. So I do think that these days it feels like anything that you say, it can be inflammatory, it can be, people can take it in a double sense. Even with social media, just going back to the idea of social media, how there's a platform where people feel entailed to go there and like destroy somebody just with
because of their views, right? Yeah.
because of their views. So it does feel like a little hyper vigilant, even more in America. I do feel
Very
that
much.
it's just
And that's kind of where I wanted to like hone in on the U.S. It just, for me, like, I agree, and I'll let you speak on it too as well, Sean. But for me as well, I feel that in the U.S. specifically, that people are just much more on a high alert, and it is a combination of social media, a combination of people being a little bit more politically inclined, and I think it's a combination of things. I think, and for me, even in the spiritual realm, I think it's just realms being, like the veil between realms being lifted, and people seeing things in different lights, and we're coming into different new eras of things. And I just think it's a mix of a lot of things where people in the U.S. specifically, and for me being somewhat of a feeler in life, I feel that people are very much on a high alert.
Yeah. I'd agree. It was interesting because we were in Colombia for 6 weeks. And so naturally we were away from our normal lives here. So we got to kind of put our alert down in a sort of way and be there. But also culturally, it did feel like they're a little less on like high alert, a little less vigilant than like just the dominant like mode of life we find ourselves in this country. And I don't. It's a lot to unpack, right? Like we're a big country. I mean, let's just talk about the guns for a moment. The mass shootings. I mean,
we are at all-time high already for this year, which has just begun.
That is alarming. Like that is obviously. I think that puts us all on high alert. However we feel about the gun policy and all of that and how to combat this, like that already. Even though we're not a country actively at war, it kind of, practically we are, given the number of mass shootings that are taking place.
We practically are. And you spoke about guns, and I want to talk about that for a second too. But I also want to pose to your question while we're talking about this. So what do you think, what is activism to you both? And what do you think the impact that it makes on our community as an activist? How do you feel about that in relation to this whole thing?
Activism is everything. I mean, I hope for a world where we can all kind of see ourselves as an activist and maybe not have that be like something scary, because the opportunity to be an activist is there for any of us because it can happen in so many ways. So I'll start by that, and we can dig into it more.
Yeah, I also wanted to say that the word activism, it can be so scary for some, just to think that maybe they might think that it's just going on in the streets and screaming for your rights, but it's not that. It's a combination of things. It's political action and activation in your community, is social media. It can help to the contribution of that. Getting out on your streets and just fighting for your being and the well-being of your community as well. So it's just a combination of things. I couldn't say that it's just like this is activism and this is how you just like become one.
No, seriously, it's one of those terms that you hear and you're just like, I can't put a finger on it. But that's why I want to know more so what you think the impact is, because it definitely is necessary. I think, especially in my community, as a community leader, you both are community leaders as well. And for the definition by Google, it says that activism is the policy of action of using campaigning to bring about social or political change. And you kind of both touched on that. It is a social and a political thing in most realms when it comes to activism. And again, you both talked about how it is kind of a scary title to have as an activist. And I can speak on that myself as getting into activism and, talking about things that are near and dear to my heart and kind of being the voice of a community. It is a scary thing, and it shouldn't necessarily be as scary as it is. But again, it speaks on that hypervigilance that we were talking about. And I think that's just kind of part of the deal. It takes a special person to put that aside for the better good. And I think we, like you said, we all have the capability of doing that or being that.
Yeah.
Yes,
That's the good thing about
I
activism.
also feel that like we all have the capacity to be that or to be whatever we want. It's just that also our society has boxes, like place some boxes in our abilities as well. So maybe I used to think something about activism. Now I do think different things about activism because of the knowledge I gain in this time. So
Yes.
it also comes with education. You gain that power.
Yes. Hey, Ivan. Ivan Montanez, who I had on the show for my season premiere, just said hi to us in the comments. Hi, Ivan.
Hey.
But yeah, and I think also, you know, sometimes I feel, and I want to know if you feel this way as well. I'm going to pose this question to you. Sometimes I feel that as community leaders, we have a little bit more pressure to be active or to be activists. How do you feel about that? Do you think we have more of a responsibility, or do you think that there is a heightened pressure for community leaders?
I think, I mean, an elected official is one thing, obviously, because they have like real, like, you know, stake, you know, people voted for them, put them in office, they've got certain responsibilities. But as a community activist, I mean, I think you can put a lot of pressure or guilt on yourself or you know, fear. Am I doing enough? Am I not doing it right? Am I not doing it well enough? But in those, of course, that's just like unhelpful internal chit chat, right? Because at the end of the day, anything we're doing, any way we're contributing as an activist matters.
Right.
So some of us may be out there doing a lot and maybe sort of begin to take on that perception. Others might see, oh, I relate to them as a community leader. I relate to them as a community leader. That's fine. That's great. But I think I want to like encourage everyone to be an activist in the ways that they can. I would like, in the same way, Taylor, that you're on like a fitness journey, a spiritual journey. You're always kind of pushing yourself a little bit more there. Like I dream that there could be a world where, you know, we all want to enjoy our lives and sit back, kick back and relax, but we can all just be challenging ourselves to go a little bit further in terms of activism, because it can have such an impact. I know you were asking about impact before. So
yeah,
right, yeah. And I do think that like once you play that role of activism, the community do expect certain things of you. Like if something happens, then you need to speak about it. But I also think that it will be inhumane to be able to speak up for everything or any matters that comes out to every day. So I also feel like you have to pick up your battles and based on your mission and what are you driven to. Not all the time you have to be actively doing something. So yeah, and also for that, like I don't know how do you say that syndrome of yourself, like just yourself. You're the biggest challenge for
as
yourself.
RuPaul put it, your inner saboteur.
Your inner saboteur. Yeah, like imposter syndrome. Yeah.
So you might be doing or you feel like it's not enough.
Right.
And you might be already doing lots of things for the community.
Exactly.
So,
and sometimes, you know, and this is just me speaking, feel free to agree or disagree. Sometimes I think it's just nice to have those people in the community that are just there for people, that are just an ear or someone to just be around or just be like a friend. And I think that goes a long way when it comes to building community.
Yeah.
And I know with you guys with Newport Out, and I want to ask you a little bit about that. With Newport Out, you are always creating family-friendly events and other things and like drag events. And I don't know if you guys watched last week's episode, but Arkansas took a stab at drag events, and they're presenting this bill that would make them classified drag shows as adult-oriented. But I'll let you check that out because, geez, I don't want to talk about it again. But you guys are always doing something for the community or putting on these events that I think are drawers of men, so to speak. And that's speaking from my spiritual man. And I adore, I love that what you do. You've had me in the House of Neptune a couple of times, and I am so grateful for that. But why don't you tell us a little bit more about what you do with Newport Out and how that fuels your activism.
Sure, yeah. So, yeah, we both own this organization. Is called Newport Out. It's legally conformed as a marketing agency promoting Newport to LGBT travelers, but also supporting the local community through resources and connections to and accessibility for them. And we also do events because if you know, Newport doesn't have a designated gay bar or LGBT center, nothing like it. So we run events to provide a space for not yet to provide a space for the community. And I feel like part of it is just our own personal experiences. I have a big group of LGBT friends back in my hometown in Medellin. And so when I came here, I was just craving that, just community and having people that I can count with, that it becomes some sort of a chosen family.
Yes. Yeah.
With same like lived experiences they have similar to mine. So for me, it's just all about that. That fuels me when people come to us and they approach us and they make us realize about the great work we're doing for the community. That fuels me too. I love creativity and design, so when we do events, I love that aspect of it as well. And
I did not know that. You like to craft?
what?
Did you say you like to craft?
No, I said I like design and crafts.
Ah, yes. Oh, I did not
Yeah.
know that. I did not know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I love that piece of it, graphic design too. So I get to combine what I like and something that I'm also passionate about. And that comes with like advocacy too, just like speaking up for certain things that nobody's talking in Newport,
Right.
like education for the community to certain topics they don't understand yet.
Yeah.
To,
You kind of get to keep your ear to the ground, so to speak, when you're working with an organization like this. And I think that's one of the things that you guys really kind of hone in on with what you do. You get to hear what people want. You get to hear what people need, more importantly, and you can choose the level of action that you want to take in that respect.
yeah. And I also feel like there's still a lot of stigma around what our community is, and it's just not just one thing. It's just so diverse that we couldn't just do one type of events for a certain community. So that's why we try to listen to the community and see what they want. We love working with youth too, so we get to work with the GSAs around the area. So
Right.
next week we are having like open feedback session with them to inform Newport Pride as well.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, what do they want to see happen at Pride? What performances do they want to see? That kind of thing.
Yeah,
And,
it's important. If
yeah,
you're going to serve the community, you kind of, you have to know what you have to know what they want, what they need. And that's important. It's really important. And even the way you talk about it now, I can hear that you take so much consideration into everything that you do.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, no,
And I also think it's about it's like paying it forward too. Like Danny and I get to be here and live our lives, right? Like before 2015, like our relationship wasn't really possible because Danny was an immigrant to this country. So before we had marriage equality. So we're like, our lives are sitting on the shoulders of all these other people.
Very true.
And it's like, what's beyond that, right? We have this right now, this human right to do what we want and love who we want. But like, what's the next level? What's the next issue within our wide LGBTQ plus community that needs tending to, because the work's never done. I don't know.
Yeah.
Going off on a little philosophical tangent there.
No, but that's
You know what? I live for a philosophical tangent.
yeah, because right now we're lucky to be able to run Newport Out in this community. I know there are countries that you can't even have an organization like this out there. So we're lucky to live here, that it's relatively queer friendly or friendly in general.
We only get like 2 hate emails a year, whereas maybe in another part of the country you would get like flooding constantly.
Only 2 a year. Only 2.
Yeah,
That's
not
great.
bad.
you're not doing something right until you get 2 hate mails. 2 hate mails.
Yeah, I know. Maybe we need more. We need to keep going. So we can...
Oh my gosh! You know what? That's an unfortunate side effect. I'm sorry to hear that, but it does happen. It really does. But I appreciate you sharing that with us. I also, we kind of summed it up, and this keeps happening. We kind of summed everything up that I wanted to share with the viewers, but you guys feel free to chime in on these as well. But there are 4 ways to be an effective activist, and I want to make sure to get this out before we go, because we are almost reaching that time, unfortunately. But I think there's 4 effective roles that you can play as an activist to be effective. Those 4 roles, and we literally touched on all of these, is 1, the citizen, which is to not be underestimated. 2, the rebel, also to not be, but the rebel, the thing with the rebel is the rebel has to learn that you can't just run into the streets and scream your message and hope for it to be effective. Right. But we all know the rebel. We all have the rebel in the group. There's the reformer, and then we have what they're calling, in my research, the agent. Okay? So we got the citizen, the rebel, the reformer, and the agent.
Ooh, what's the agent? Like undercover agent?
Okay, so I knew that was going to be the question. I knew that most people would not get that one. So the agent is the person who takes the necessary risks. And as you know, as an activist, there are times where you have necessary risks that you are going to take in order to either have something be successful or to get what you need.
Yeah.
So the agent is the person who plays between the citizen and the rebel, who hears what's being said, who knows what's being said in the community, and brings that forth for them. The agent is the person who kind of plays the in-between man, but has connections to higher up.
Yeah.
So, for instance, that friend who works in City Hall but shows up to the protest, that's your agent.
Yeah.
That's your agent. And that person also is usually responsible for education and educating us on, as a citizen, as a rebel, and the reformer, educating us on how we can legally obtain what we want and need. So the agent is really important. As the citizen, your job is to be effective, and this is my opinion, I think as the citizen is to promote positivity and community values. And that's also something that you also do really well in Newport Out, is to promote positive values and reflects what the community it holds in the high value, as opposed to what you hold in high value. Because sometimes the two can differ. And that does not work well for a successful organization. As the rebel, their main effectiveness with their voice is to protect human rights, period. And next week, I believe it is, I have one of my good friends who I classify as the rebel, who I think is watching, Jacqueline Nelson. She is the definition of rebel in Providence, and she is always speaking up for women's rights and human rights. That is what we need from the rebel. And to be ineffective, like I said earlier, would be the rebel who runs out into the streets and creates chaos and screams their message out and just expects change to happen through chaos. And we all know, like I said, we all know the person who thinks that would be the effective rebel.
Right.
But we also had Nico saying, "Hey Daniel," in the comments. Nico, I don't want to say your name wrong, so I'm not going to say that. But thank you for
watching. I'm imagining it's Nico from Sankofa Community Connection.
Yes. I'm like, thank you for watching, Nico. I am not going to butcher your name live, but I appreciate it. Make sure you like and share. But yes, the rebel. And then with the reformer, and I think this would be effective as a reformer, someone who is bringing up solutions that along with problems, putting problems to the forefront, but also solutions, and bringing those solutions to the public eye. But not only bringing those solutions, again, this is the reformer, which it sounds like a lot of responsibility, but it's a very dual role. Yeah. And I think with the reformer, you have to bring problems and solutions, bring that to the public spotlight, and once you do that, come up with a strategy as a reformer. That's the part that we're missing. I think it's a lot of times people want to be the reformer and they want that change. They want to see the change that they are imagining, but they don't have the strategy.
Yeah.
And then that's when the agent comes in.
That reformer sounds a lot of like social media too. How people, I know it can be a tool, but it's not the only tool. So they will think that just by sharing there and like exposing the information, that's enough. But what happens after that?
Exactly.
And what's like that? So,
and I think that's in part what is happening with BLM. Unfortunately, around the world, it's become one of those things where it's such a great organization and it's such a good cause, and we're screaming loud and we're getting our voices heard and we're putting our message out there. But I don't know that the organization as a whole, globally, really had a strategy and plan put in place, because I don't think that they would think that they would skyrocket to such a platform in such a short period of time.
Yeah.
And that's just my opinion. I don't think that there's a strategy put in place. And that can do a little bit more harm than good.
Yeah, I like personally don't know much about the organization, but I could understand that how like this movement grew so much that who knew that it was just gonna become such a massive like way of changing the way we think too, because it also goes back to what we were talking about, how like people here are so like it's so tense right now to talk about certain topics. It can become like just such a fiery thing. So yeah.
I was just like, these are the roles. This is I realized right away when I was doing research that we're missing the reformer. That's what we're missing in a lot of our in our fights for social justice.
Yeah.
I'm gonna send out an application for reformers worldwide after this. But it's really important that we recognize those roles, because I think that once we connect those to who we are as activists, I think we could be so much more powerful.
Yeah, I agree. I like because those are four very different approaches and skill sets. So that's why we need all of us, because maybe like you're saying, like we need a little bit more reformer for maybe local Rhode Island issues or national issues. And so I like that idea of kind of figuring out like where you fit in, like what's your strong suit, and then like maybe where else can you, like maybe you have some like side skills as well. I like the idea of like mapping out those four roles to like a specific issue. Like, how are we going to tackle this issue with rebel, reformer, agent, and the other one?
Citizen. Yeah, no, when I read this, even for me, and like I said, someone who's already, kind of taking that path as an activist and kind of, and doing what I need to do in that respect. Even for me, reading this in my research really helped me to identify my strengths, like you just said, and I can be more helpful when I know this is where my strengths lie.
Right.
And I think that we can, and it definitely, like I like to say a lot here on Tea with Taylor, it starts at a local level.
Absolutely.
Yes. It has to start somewhere. It starts at a local level. Get your local politicians involved. Learn who they are, who local legislation is. It really, really starts on a local level. Because once we all band together with our local community and our local government, then we can bring it to the forefront. Again, we can bring that to the public eye on a kind of united front. I just can't say it enough. It starts with local politicians. It starts with your local leaders.
Yeah, that's it.
And that's what this is so important to me, to have really good people like yourselves who know the work and who are doing the work to talk about this with, because it's just something that we all know activism, we all kind of hear, we all kind of see, but really to dedicate your life to your cause, like you both have in a respect, it's really honorable, and I'm so gracious to have you here, and I'm so thankful for everything you do. And it's it's something that holds a lot of power, and unfortunately with great power comes vice president.
Very responsible.
I almost got it out with a straight face. I'm sorry. I couldn't help it. But I want to charge people who are watching. I want to charge our viewers. Just to take that step forward and to think about what role you play in these four distinct roles as an activist, as a person. What's important to you, what you value, what you want to see in your community, even to bring that to the forefront, to make making sure that you make a difference in some way, shape, or form. Doesn't always have to be what someone else is doing, but again, identifying yourself as the citizen, as the rebel, as the reformer, as the agent, and knowing a strategy to do these things with the people in your community will make such a huge difference, and that's the stepping stones that I'm looking forward to.
Yeah. Same.
Awesome.
Yeah,
it is. It's all about stepping stones. Like
yeah.
We're always learning. We're always like learning better strategies and all of that.
Yeah, and so I think we kind of reached our hour. I'm thankful for everyone who's watched. I am again thankful for you all both. But I want to give you a moment, and unfortunately we didn't get to play our game. But I'm gonna have either both or one of you back to at some point on TV Taylor, so you can have a little fun game experience. But I wanted to give you guys a moment to kind of promote or leave the viewers with anything that you might have upcoming as far as events or any gems or words of wisdom you want to leave for our viewers. Have the time.
Well, I want to say that anyone can be an activist, so just find that courage, find your strengths, and just go out there and help your community in whatever way you can. I also wanted to say Newport Out, we're having some upcoming events, so you can, if you want to learn more about us and the events, you can go to newportout.com. And we also are part of Newport Pride. I'm the executive director for Newport Pride, and we're now open for sponsorships, and we have vendors and performers forum already open. So if anybody would like to participate this year at Newport Pride, you can go to newportprideri.org and you can find more information there.
Yeah.
Or you can reach out to us for anything that you want to learn.
And okay, we got a skate night coming up for the community.
Oh,
we've got.
No, you didn't. No, you didn't. Listen, after this episode, please post the link to your events page or to the
the events page has all of it. Our Queer Connections program, the Born This Way prom's coming up in a few months. We're involved in planning that, and I want to talk to you more about that, Taylor. So we'll be following up about that. So there's a lot happening, but we'll link to the events page, and it's
okay. Yeah, leave that in the comments for the viewers, because I live for what you do, and we burned it up. Me and the House of Neptune, we burned it up. We did it last Newport Pride. I was so happy to be a part of it. Me and my child Coco LaFree, we had a little dual performance for you.
Good memory.
It was at the Jane Dickens Theater, if I'm not mistaken, and it was such a moment, and I love that you guys have such a hand in Newport Pride. It makes me gleeful. It brings me great joy.
Awesome. And I hope
but I really want to make sure that the viewers get access to that, because you guys, especially that little skate night situation. Shoot, I might bust out my skates, a little Afro wig. Just
yes. Oh my gosh, please.
But thank you for joining me today again. I think that's where we're going to leave it today. I want to make sure, and I'm not going to stop saying this, I want to make sure that everyone is being good to themselves. Make sure you're being good to yourself. Look inward before looking outward for life's answers. Again, everyone has the capacity to be an activist. So thank you all for listening, for joining, for sharing, for your comments, for your conversation. And even after this, feel free to comment and share with me if you would like to. Happy Black History Month. I love you all so much. And with that, I will say goodnight and give you back your Friday. But thank you both again, and you guys enjoy, all right?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Taylor.
Goodbye.
Ciao.